This is EDL 853 Special Education Module 8 case study. Get this child out of my room. So just a summary of this case study. Carl Hughes is a third grader at Schuyler K-12 Comprehensive School. He is in Mrs. Taylor's third grade class, and he does have a behavior disorder. His parents are recently divorced, and it seems to be a pretty messy divorce based on their interaction with the school. And then Susan Green is a newly hired special education teacher. She is right out of college, so she does not have very much hands-on experience in this sort of setting. So the problem identification and analysis. The problem seems to be Carl's increasingly inappropriate behavior in class. Mrs. Taylor has said that he will go to the pencil sharpener and sharpen his pencil and then throw it. And he has also been observed throwing rocks at teachers from the school bus. So that is very inappropriate behavior for a school. So we need to know how his teacher, his special education teacher, his parents, and school leadership can help him succeed in this school setting. So what we know, he attends Schuyler K-12 Comprehensive School. They do have shared and limited resources because this is a big district with several schools in it. Mrs. Nancy Taylor is his third grade teacher. She has been there for several years and has good standing throughout the school and seems to be known as a good teacher. Carl's parents are recently divorced, and Susan Green is a new hire right out of college. So what we need to know, does Carl behave this way in his other classes? In music and PE, does he seem to be displaying this inappropriate behavior, or is it just in Mrs. Taylor's class? And if it is, what are the other teachers doing to deter him from this behavior, since it's not happening, maybe it's not happening in their class? Also, we need to know what triggers Carl's outbursts. It said in the case study that Mrs. Green didn't know what seemed to be his trigger. She did observe his class, and there didn't seem to be a rhyme or reason for when his outbursts occurred, so we need to know that. We also need to know if his IEP is being followed for legal reasons, but just to have accurate data, we do need to know if that is being followed. I would also like to know if his siblings are acting out in school. They are older, so maybe the divorce isn't affecting them the way that it is affecting Carl, but are they also acting out in school? And then throughout this entire case study, no one seemed to be talking to Carl about any of it. So I would like to know his input. Does he realize that his behavior is inappropriate? Is he proud of this behavior? What he feels about his parents getting divorced? Just talking to him and seeing what his input is about his education. So my proposed plan of action, I have 3 strategies for that. The first strategy is I would, number 1, get Carl's input on his behavior. Like I said, the case study didn't even say that any of the teachers or special education teacher or administration, none of them talked to him about his input on his education. And then I would also consult the school counselor to see how she thinks his behavior is linked to his parents' divorce. He doesn't seem to have a lot of support at home, and his parents don't seem to be around a lot. It said that his mom works 50 hours a week to support the kids, and his dad doesn't seem to be around much. So maybe Carl doesn't feel like he can talk to somebody. Maybe he just needs to have a little extra help and talk to someone about what is going on in his life. Strategy 2, I would set up a meeting with Susan Green and Nancy Taylor to discuss the issues at hand and brainstorm ways to solve the problems. Susan and Nancy met before, and the outcome wasn't how Susan had wanted it to be. It didn't seem like Mrs. Taylor was open to any suggestions for Carl's educational plan. She just seemed to want him out of her room. So I think an administrator being present in that meeting would help gear that meeting in a positive way. And then step 2 for that, based on the meeting with Miss Green and Miss Taylor, setting up a meeting that includes Carl's parents and informing them on what the plan of action is. And then if his IEP accommodations do change, we do need to get permission from his parents to change those. And then strategy 3, I would regularly observe Mrs. Taylor's class and collect data to see if Carl's behavior changes when I'm in there based on Mrs. Taylor's observations when I'm not in there. And then possible action, maybe we need to think about reevaluating his IEP long term if this behavior doesn't change. Resolving the issues based on promoting the success of all students. Number 1, I would speak to the other students in the class. I would like to know if they feel endangered by Carl's behavior. Do they notice his behavior a lot? Are they going home and telling their parents about Carl? And are their parents worried about their safety? That is a big issue if they are going home and telling their parents about this student. And if so, how can we resolve this issue? Number 2, I would like the counselor to meet weekly with Carl at least. If he feels like he likes talking to the counselor and wants to talk to him or her more than once a week, that's something that can be accommodated for him. That would also take him out of the classroom a little bit to give Mrs. Taylor a break and the other students in class a break. But this would just help him feel more supported and would just give him somebody to talk to. Like I said, his parents don't seem to be around much, and maybe he just doesn't feel like he has very many friends at school, so maybe he doesn't feel like he has anybody to talk to. And then I would suggest extra paraprofessional support within Mrs. Taylor's class. She commented in the meeting between Carl's parents and Susan and herself that there are so many kids in this classroom, I just don't have the time to meet all of Carl's needs for him to be successful. That is a big problem in most classrooms. So I think maybe putting a paraprofessional in her room would help support her. Maybe she would feel more comfortable having one in there to help with Carl's needs, but also to help with the other students' needs. And that would just support student success for all students, not just for Carl. And then walk through several times a week at various times. I wouldn't want Carl to know when I was coming in because his behavior could definitely change based on whether I was in there or not. That would just show an administrative presence in the room. Students tend to act differently when an administrator or a teacher of higher authority is in the room. So maybe just peeking in the window to see his behavior when he doesn't know I'm looking, that sort of thing. And then it said that there was just an assistant superintendent in the building that was also a teacher that had a regular schedule for a teacher and had to do all the extra administrative duties on the side. So there seems to be a big lack of administration within the building. So I think that there needs to be more administrative presence in the building. Maybe the district needs to hire more individuals to meet those needs. And maybe just showing that there is administration in the building will help improve all students' behavior. So a debrief of the problem. Carl needs support at school and at home. I don't think that he feels supported at home at all. It seems like his parents seem to be very self-involved in what is going on in their relationship, which is understandable, but they also have children to be worrying about. And it doesn't seem like his parents are around much, so he may not feel like he has any support at home. Maybe the family needs to go in family counseling also. That's a very touchy subject, so going into that conversation with an open mind and trying to help these people improve their relationship, I think is a vital part of this process. And then counseling, I think, would improve Carl's self-esteem and anger outbursts just with the school counselor. Staff administration, does Susan Green feel supported based on her meeting with Mrs. Taylor? It didn't seem to go very well, so does she feel like she's doing a good job? Does she need some extra support? I would also have a meeting with Mrs. Taylor about her role in Carl's success. How would she feel more comfortable with Carl still staying in her class? Maybe a para would help her feel more comfortable, or maybe we need to decide on something else to improve how comfortable she is in her class. And then unresolved issues. What will counseling sessions bring up? Will Carl's behavior change in a positive way? Can we repair the damaged relationship between Mrs. Taylor and Carl? And how do the students feel about Carl's behavior? Reflect on Standard 2 by providing evidence that you as an educational leader promotes the academic success and personal well-being of every student by enhancing instructional capacity. So promoting the academic success, training for all staff that enhances their knowledge and accommodations and effective teaching strategies for all students to be successful. I think there is plenty of room to improve on that for all teachers. A weekly analysis of data collected from the school counselor and Susan Green and Mrs. Taylor and my own observations to figure out what is working and what isn't. And then bi-weekly one-on-one meetings with Mrs. Taylor. What improvements is she seeing? How does she think the other students are reacting or being affected by Carl's behavior? What is she changing that is working or maybe making things worse? Just getting her input in this situation. And then promoting the personal well-being of every student. Walkthroughs in Mrs. Taylor's class to make sure that she is following all students' IEPs, but especially Carl's IEP in this situation. Positive relationships with every student. I believe that there needs to be a positive relationship with all students to promote learning. If there isn't a relationship, then learning probably isn't occurring. So I would have personal check-ins with Carl, just informal, not in my office or anything, just at lunch or in the hallway and passing period, just asking him how things are going to let him know that I'm there and that he has my support also if he needs it. And then Susan Green's current behavior plan would still be in place, so I would like to know how many times a week Carl is being taken out of the classroom for aggressive behavior, and then maybe increasing check-ins with Carl or decreasing check-ins with Carl if his behavior is improving. Enhancing instructional capacity. I said this in strategy 2 of my action plan. I think increasing collaboration and communication between all stakeholders is important to enhance instructional capacity. Collaboration is a great way to help all students succeed, so I think that is vital. Providing professional development for all teachers, discussing improvements of accommodations and effective teaching strategies. Providing administrative support for special education teachers and for general education teachers. And then also, I believe in applauding strengths for all teachers and developing their weaknesses. So Mrs. Taylor is doing a great job of being able to reach all of the students in her class, but her weakness seems to be Carl. So we need to develop her relationship with Carl and help her to reach him also, because she seems to be doing a great job with all the other students in her class. Thank you for watching.